This is Part 2 Episode 117. Mr. Xiao Yan, everyone in the Yi clan will never forget the great favors you have done for the Yi clan. Please feel free to ask if there is anything you need my Yi clan to do in the future. Even though there are some things that we are unable to do, my Yi clan will try its best. Yi Zhong cupped his hands together and bowed to Xiao Yan as he spoke in an unusually serious manner. I am unworthy of such a solemn and respectful ceremony from Elder Yi Zhong. Please do not continue. Xiao Yan slightly leaned his body forward as he replied with a smile. Yi Zhong smiled when he heard his words. His eyes wandered in the direction Cao Dan had disappeared. However, there was some worry in his eyes as he sighed. From the words that Cao Dan uttered earlier, I think that witch from the Cao clan has likely returned. Which? Xiao Yan raised his head upon hearing this, feeling a little uncertain as he did so. Yi Zhong bitterly laughed when he saw Xiao Yan's uncertainty. He asked, Mr. Xiao Yan, what do you think of Cao Dan? His character is nothing great, but he does have some skill in terms of flame control. Moreover, he is able to reach the level of a Tier 7 alchemist at such a young age. His talent is worthy of being described as a genius. Xiao Yan voiced his thoughts. Although Cao Dan was arrogant, he did possess decent ability. This Cao Dan is unable to show even the slightest bit of arrogance in front of the witch of the Cao clan, Yi Zhong softly explained. His tone contained an exceptional bitterness. If his Yi clan could produce such a person, would he still need to worry about their strength? This kind of witch was a terrifying character, where she alone could be relied on to support the entire clan. Oh, surprise flashed across his eyes. The Cao clan had such a person. The Central Plains region was indeed filled with many hidden talents. If the reason he possessed the current achievement was due to a combination of both talent and effort, this Cao Ying was likely really a little witch blessed by the heavens, reaching Tier 7 at 20 years old. During these 2 years, she would definitely have advanced. I guess the current her, Yi Zhong paused when he spoke until this point. His face was filled with bitterness. The current her should be at least at the peak of the Tier 7 level. The entire yard was completely silent. A 22-year-old peak Tier 7 alchemist. This achievement would likely enter the top 10 even when compared with the 1,000 years of alchemist history. Cao Ying will definitely participate in this pill gathering. According to tradition, if one wishes to slowly advance to be one of the giant heads of the pill tower, one must be the champion of a pill gathering, Yi Zhong sighed. This Cao Ying is quite ambitious. Therefore, she will definitely not give up this pill gathering. Yi Zhong's eyes turned to the grave face of Xiao Yan and slowly said, this girl will be a great opponent of yours in the pill gathering. Xiao Yan slightly nodded. Tier 8 and Tier 7 were two completely different concepts. After all these years, it was likely that the only alchemist he had met who could refine a Tier 8 medicinal pill was Yao Lao alone. Xiao Yan had met some Tier 7 alchemists after having arrived in the Central Plains region. However, he had never met a Tier 8 alchemist. It was likely that even some Dozun class experts would need to be extremely courteous to an alchemist of this tier. They would possess a position that was similar to the height Yao Lao reached in the Central Plains back then. The reason why there were so few Tier 8 alchemists clearly indicated how difficult it was to advance to this level. A Tier 7 alchemist might be able to do extremely well in the Central Plains. However, if one wanted to reach the point where even an elite Dozun would willingly come to be your fighter, one would, at the very least, need to reach the 8th tier. Xiao Yang withdrew from the thoughts within his heart as he smiled and said, relax. I will definitely do well in this pill gathering. I will do my best regardless of how strong the opponents are. Yi Zhong grinned and nodded upon hearing his reply. He said, Mr. Xiao Yang. The test of the 5 great clans will begin in less than 1 month's time. We still need to leave for Holy Pill City in advance. Therefore, we must leave in around 20 days. This pressing schedule caused Xiao Yang to frown. Immediately, he nodded. He was currently pressed for time, and he could no longer waste any. However, it was fortunate that his pill refinement training had gradually progressed well. Although he had yet to successfully refine a Tier 7 high-rank medicinal pill, his chances of success when refining some low and middle-grade medicinal pills had significantly raised. With this speed, Xiao Yang sooner or later would be able to successfully refine a Tier 7 high-rank medicinal pill. All you need to do is inform me before you leave. I will rest for 1 day before continuing my retreat and practicing hard for a period of time. In other words, his 1 day spent in bitter training was equivalent to training a couple of days by others. Of course, this kind of wild, uncontrolled training was extremely harsh. However, Xiao Yang had suffered many hardships during these years. He might not have anything else, but his character was tough after being honed all these years. The achievement that Xiao Yang possessed today was definitely not something that he had suddenly obtained. Yizhong felt some admiration for Xiao Yang after wiping off his cold sweat. He said in a solemn voice, Mr. Xiao Yang, please continue to train with peace of mind. You can just inform the old me if you do not have enough medicinal ingredients. Even if I have to exhaust the entire collection of my Yi clan, I will definitely support Mr. Xiao Yang until you have completed your training. Xiao Yang slightly nodded. He once again chatted with Yizhong about some matters related to the pill gathering before returning to his own room, while the others returned to theirs. Xiao Yang once again entered the pill refinement room on the second day, after having resolved the trouble that came with the Cao clan. After which, he announced that he would undertake a retreat to engage in harsh training. Soon after, an endless amount of rare medicinal ingredients were carried out of Yi clan's warehouse, and they were piled in the pill refinement room. Due to Xiao Yang having stepped forward, the Yi clan was temporarily no longer faced with any disturbances from the Cao clan. Additionally, the little fairy doctor and Qian Huozunja would occasionally show themselves. This caused the factions coveting the Yi clan to hold back a little. Two elite dozuns, this lineup was definitely not something an ordinary faction could contend with. Without the trouble that came from the outside world, the Yi clan became much quieter. Time gradually flowed by amid silence, appearing just like the sand seeping between one's fingers. Today was the last day before they would begin traveling to the Holy Pill City. It was also the day that Xiao Yang would finish his retreat. Xiao Yang did not even take half a step out of the pill refinement room during these 20-something days. The hot environment within the pill refinement room caused even some of the members of the Yi clan, who had delivered medicinal ingredients, to be afraid of staying for long. Usually, they would gently place the medicinal ingredients down before hurriedly withdrawing in silence. This kind of change was not obvious, but it gave Yizhong's group a kind of strange feeling. It appeared as though Xiao Yang, who was in front of them, had become more dazzling than before he had undertaken the retreat. The little fairy doctor and Qian Huozunja were also a little startled because of this change. The little fairy doctor was still fine, but Qian Huozunja seemed to have fallen deep into thought. Xiao Yang was a little surprised upon seeing so many people outside the door after he walked out of the training room. He helplessly shook his head and questioned, Elder Yizhong, there is no need for such grandness, is there? Cuckoo, Yizhong hurriedly recovered upon hearing his words. He laughed before waving his hand and scattering the clan members who had gathered here. With a smile, he said, Mr. Xiao Yang, we will begin our journey to the Holy Pill City tomorrow. Are you prepared? Xiao Yang nodded. It was unexpected that time had passed so quickly during his retreat. Nearly a month had passed within the blink of an eye. Mr. Xiao Yang, nothing is wrong with you, is there? Yizhong glanced at Xiao Yang. He seemed to vaguely sense a kind of faint pressure when he was close to Xiao Yang. This kind of pressure seemed to originate from deep within his soul, causing him to find it difficult to ignore. Xiao Yang revealed an uncertain expression in the face of Yizhong's question. He frowned and asked, what can happen to me? From the way Xiao Yang acted, it seemed he was unaware of the slight change. Yizhong was somewhat stunned when he saw Xiao Yang's lost manner. Could it be that he was mistaken? It is not that you are mistaken. This fellow's spiritual strength seems to have risen during this retreat. Qian Huozunja finally shifted his eyes away from Xiao Yang. He smiled as he spoke, spiritual strength. Xiao Yang was stunned when he heard this. He immediately fondled his chin and mused, now that you mention it, I seem to have suddenly found it much easier to refine pills when compared to before. Moreover, my control over the flame has become even more exquisite as well. However, can't spiritual strength only grow when one's level increases? My strength is currently still at the level of a 4-star do zone. It is only a little more stable compared to when I had just advanced to it. Qian Huozunja glanced at Xiao Yang with a strange expression. A moment later, he finally raised his eyebrows and said, looks like that teacher of yours did not inform you about matters relating to spiritual strength, but this is only natural. An ordinary person can only bend according to this exceedingly mysterious thing known as the soul. They cannot control it. Even though you only knew how to control your spiritual strength, but you do not have a deep understanding of it. Xiao Yang and Yizhong pondered Qian Huozunja's words. Xiao Yang came to a sudden, but complete understanding while Yizhong continued frowning. This argument was something that he had seen in some of the ancient books in the clan. Heavenly State, you should be aware that when it comes to a Tier 9 medicinal pill, its intelligence will not be any different from an ordinary person. This is equivalent to a kind of creation, the creation of life. One must not only provide it with spirituality, but one must also have the might of nature. In order to achieve this, one would need to reach the almighty heavenly state. It is likely that very few people on this continent can achieve this level. As for the DI state, this only exists in legends. Even I have only heard of it. However, I think you should be aware of the top tier of the spiritual states. DI, God, tier. All that I can tell you is that this state is related to the DI tier medicinal pill. The DI tier medicinal pill is related to the legendary Do Di. However, it is not known just how many people have failed to reach this state. Qian Huazunji's voice was regretful when he finished speaking. However, Xiao Yang's group was no longer able to sense the regret in his voice. The few of them had been shaken into a giddy state by the words Qian Huazunji had uttered. Other than Yi Zhong, who had some vague memory of spiritual states, everyone else, even the little fairy doctor, felt a little lost. She had just advanced to the Dozun class. In terms of experience, she was unable to compete with an old demon like Qian Huazunji. No wonder there are so many Tier 7 alchemists, while Tier 8 alchemists are so rare. It is likely that some Tier 7 alchemists are not aware of the so-called spiritual states. However, it would be best if I am able to obtain a kind of soul technique that enables me to train my soul. With this thing, I should be able to advance to the soul state in a much smoother manner. Unfortunately, it has already been lost. Xiao Yang's heart was filled with regret when he thought about this. The loss of these soul techniques might be the main reason why the current generation of alchemists had difficulty advancing to the 8th tier. I wonder if the Pill Tao possesses a soul technique. By being able to become the holy ground in the hearts of a countless number of alchemists, it is likely not an ordinary place. Hopefully, I will be able to obtain some news regarding a soul technique on my trip to the Holy Pill City. Who knows when this kind of thing will appear? Xiao Yang sighed. He had made up his mind. During this trip of his to the Holy Pill City, finding a soul technique would be an important task. All the members of the Yi clan were standing at the entrance of the manor the next day. Their eyes were searing hot as they watched Xiao Yang's group in front of them. Whether the Yi clan would be able to gain a Pill Tower's elder's seat would depend on Xiao Yang's placement in the 5 great clans test. The Yi clan would only be considered to have been elevated if Xiao Yang successfully enters the top 3. With the protection of the Pill Tower, they would be able to develop in peace. Although they would definitely be unable to surpass a clan like the Cao clan within a short period of time, they would, at the very least, possess the ability to protect themselves. The Yi clan might end up producing a genius of the younger generation, like that which Cao Ying from the Cao clan. Then the Yi clan would be able to gradually rise and regain its former glory. Second elder, third elder, I will follow Mr. Xiao Yang and the rest and head to the Holy Pill City. Therefore, I will leave this Yi clan to you. Yi Zhong spoke in a deep voice to the 2 elders in front of the members of the Yi clan. Yes, first elder, remain at ease and get ready for the Holy Pill City. Although our Yi clan has declined, we still have some relationships with the Pill Tower, an elder from the Yi clan spoke. The few elders from the Yi clan beside him nodded in agreement. Yi Zhong sighed and nodded. With the continuous decline of the current Yi clan, some of their past relationships had been lost. However, it was fortunate that not everyone was as ruthless as the Cao clan. Moreover, it was due to these relationships that the Yi clan was still able to barely hold onto its name and have a chance to survive despite having failed the previous 2 tests. Xiao Yang glanced at the sky and softly said, "It is already almost time. Elder Yi Zhong, let's leave." After a night of rest, the dazzling feeling that Xiao Yang had displayed yesterday had gradually been withdrawn. However, he vaguely understood that his current spiritual strength was a little different from what it had been in the past. If one had to give an explanation, it would be that his current spiritual strength had an additional soul aura about it. The 4 great states of a soul seemed to be of some use to an alchemist. Moreover, the training of Do Qi did not appear to be much help based on Xiao Yang's senses. Clearly, Yi Zhong had already given instructions regarding their traveling through the wormhole. Hence, open ground was empty when they entered. Xiao Yang's group climbed up the stone stairs, and a slowly rotating wormhole appeared in front of everyone's eyes. This wormhole of Yi City appeared to possess a grand feeling. However, from the looks of the little chaotic spatial ripple slowly being emitted from the wormhole, it seemed that this wormhole had not been maintained for many years. Back when my Yi clan was still at its glorious peak, there were 2 elite dozuns who were willing to maintain the wormhole. However, with the decline of my Yi clan, we no longer have the ability to get help from an expert of this level. It is really embarrassing, Yi Zhong bitterly laughed. He lamented as he looked at this wormhole. Xiao Yang smiled and shook his head. He said, "It's fine. Once we return from this trip, I will get the little fairy doctor and old Mr. Yao to help you maintain it. In that case, I will thank the three of you. Let's get moving." Yizhong nodded with some gratitude. After which, he took out a somewhat complicated-looking, small, black boat from his storage ring. His hand rubbed it before he gently stepped forward. After which, he walked into the slowly rotating black wormhole. Xiao Yang and the others followed close behind. Xiao Yang's group appeared within the quiet spatial tunnel. Yizhong tossed small black-colored boat, which soared with the wind, transforming into an enormous boat. This space boat was the most luxurious boat Xiao Yang had ever seen since he had entered the Central Plains. From the looks of it, this Yizhong had really spent a lot to obtain it. The few human figures leaped onto the enormous boat. After which, Yizhong rubbed over the front of the boat in a familiar manner. A circular energy light barrier spread over, wrapping the boat within it. Immediately, the boat shook and suddenly increased its speed. With a swoosh sound, it flew through the seemingly endless wormhole. Yi City does not possess a wormhole that leads directly to the Holy Pill City. Hence, we can only head to a city called Qingling City. The wormhole from that city can reach the Holy Pill City. Yizhong turned and spoke with a smile to Xiao Yang's group on the boat. It requires 3 days to reach Qingling City from this place, and it will take around 4 days from Qingling City to the Holy Pill City. Therefore, we will reach the Holy Pill City in about 7 or 8 days. All of you should rest in the boat during this period. There are individual rooms within the boat. Leave the matter of controlling the space boat to Xinlan and I. Xiao Yang's group did not say anything in regards to Yizhong's suggestion. After chatting for a while, they entered the cabin and found their own rooms. The group safely arrived at Qingling City. After a brief rest, they continued their non-stop travel to the wormhole of Qingling City and rushed to the Holy Pill City from there. Xiao Yang finally witnessed the terrifying allure of the pill gathering while traveling through Qingling City. Various alchemists had been all over the streets, dazzling his eyes. It was the first time he had seen alchemists in such numbers. Even the alchemist grand meeting held in the Jioma Empire was far from able to compete with the alchemists in this Qingling City regardless of quality or quantity. Moreover, this was merely just a city within the pill region. It was really difficult to guess just how terrifying the human traffic would be when all the alchemists gathered in the Holy Pill City. Xiao Yang's heart suddenly became fiery hot when he thought of the grand scene of tens of thousands of flames rising, tens of thousands of cauldrons falling, and tens of thousands pills being born. Even his blood had begun to boil at this moment. If one did not witness such a scene even once in one's life, it would indeed be a regretful thing. The pill gathering was the grandest gathering in the alchemist world. The ultimate aim of a countless number of alchemists was to stand out in the pill gathering. In order to achieve this, they had put in years of effort and perspiration. Participating in the pill gathering was equivalent to obtaining the qualification to compete with the elites on the continent. This was a type of acknowledgement of one's strength. Who would be the greatest, as the flames in tens of thousands of cauldrons simultaneously rose? Xiao Yang's group's blood was boiling from excitement, as they accompanied the slow and long line of humans entering the dark black wormhole. The interior of the wormhole was as dull as ever. However, it was no longer quiet. Countless numbers of space boats were rushing through this spacious spatial tunnel. Noise filled the spatial tunnel as they moved. The legendary Holy Pill City became closer amid this noise. After 4 days of continuous traveling, a circular, silver glow vaguely appeared in the distance of the wormhole. This glow emitted a shocking spatial ripple. The noise emitted from the many space boats suddenly and strangely became completely silent as everyone approached the silver-colored circle made of light. Numerous human figures in alchemist robes walked out of rooms within the space boats. Their eyes contained a wild heat as they stared at the silver-colored light circle. Holy Pill City, the holy ground in every alchemist's heart. Xiao Yang placed his hands behind him. His eyes were focused on the silver light circle in the distance. The blood flowing within his body quietly began to boil again at this moment. Holy Pill City, Pill Tower, I, Xiao Yang, have arrived at this moment. This crimson open ground seemed to be filled with people. Noise was being emitted from all directions. Finally, it gathered together and charged to the sky. Even the clouds in the sky had become a lot paler. Is this the Holy Pill City? Xiao Yang involuntarily inhaled a gentle breath of air as he looked at this open ground, which was so vast that one could not see its edge. Currently, some distorted ripples were continuously appearing in the space behind him. Space boats rushed out of these ripples one after another. After which, the space boats swiftly became tiny. The people within them fell from the sky like beans, one after another. Clearly, this was an exit point of a wormhole. This is merely one of the spatial points of the Holy Pill City's outer region. There are a total of 8 such spatial exits in the outer city. Yizhong glanced around him. His eyes appeared a little complicated. The Yi clan had seldom come to this place after it had declined. During each of the 5 great clans' test, they had also visited with a crestfallen mood. After which, they would leave in a dejected manner after having lost all their face. Xiao Yang's mouth trembled upon hearing this. Just this open ground was around 10% of the size of Yi City. However, this Holy Pill City possessed 8 of them. There is no need to be surprised. The Holy Pill City is divided into the outer region and the inner region. Currently, we are located in the outer region. The Pill Tower is located in the inner region. Of course, regardless of whether it is the outer region or the inner region, they are all territories of the Pill Tower. Yi Zhong involuntarily smiled upon seeing Xiao Yang. This Holy Pill City might be called a city, but it is far from what an ordinary city can compare with. Its size is such that even some expert dozongs would need nearly half a day to fly from the north to the south. Currently, traffic has yet to reach its peak. It will really be terrifying 1 month before the start of the pill gathering. Don't think that this Holy Pill City is so big. At that time, there will definitely be a need to squeeze in. Yi Zhong laughed. You should not underestimate the allure of the pill gathering. Xiao Yang bitterly smiled and shook his head. He only now understood what a country bumpkin he was after having reached this Holy Pill City. He had finally witnessed a large city today. Where do we head to first? The snow-white carriage, that had suddenly appeared, immediately attracted the focus of a countless number of eyes. Numerous shocked voices resounded over the open ground. It is the Void Heavenly Horse Beast. Just who is this? They have appeared in such a grand manner, Void Heavenly Horse Beast. Xiao Yang also raised his eyebrows upon hearing the exclamations that were transmitted from below. His eyes revealed a shock as he looked at the snow-white carriage. He had heard of such a magical beast. Although it was only rank 6, it was an extremely rare beast. They possessed the ability to fly through the void. Moreover, their speed was even faster as well as more comfortable when compared to a space boat. Many people wanted to own a Void Heavenly Horse Beast. Due to their rarity, however, there was demand with no supply, yet this mysterious snow-white carriage was able to use a Void Heavenly Horse Beast to drive a carriage. This grand manner was really impressive. The gaze of Yi Zhong by the side paused on the snow-white carriage. A moment later, he let out a frown. Does Elder Yi Zhong know who the owner of this carriage is? Xiao Yang involuntarily asked, when he saw him frown, do you see the pill-shaped clan crest on the carriage? That is the special indicator of the Dan clan. If I have guessed correctly, the ones seated in this carriage should be the people from the Dan clan, who are going to participate in the test this time around. Yi Zhong nodded as he replied. Xiao Yang glanced over after hearing this. He noticed a golden-yellow, round clan badge. It appeared just like a medicinal pill. Dan clan, Xiao Yang mumbled in his mouth. He slowly nodded. The 5 great clans of the pill region were Dan, Cao, Bai, Qiu, and Yi. Currently, the Dan clan kept the lowest profile, but their strength was something no one doubted. The Cao clan was the most renowned. The Bai clan could be considered a wealthy family within the pill region, and they possessed some say. The Qi clan was a little weaker, but it was many times better when compared to the Yi clan. On the whole, the Yi clan was in the worst condition among the 5 great clans. The remaining 4 great clans, including the weakest Qi clan, were able to steadily maintain their clan's position in the pill region, since the members of the Dan clan have arrived. It is likely that the other 3 clans should arrive soon. Yi Zhong voiced his thoughts. I wonder just who the Dan clan will send to represent them this year. Can the Dan clan be comparable to Cao Ying from the Cao clan? Xiao Yang fondled his chin and asked. Let's go, we'll find a spot to rest first. Tomorrow, we will go to the testing association of the Pill Tower and get a tier badge. We will consider the other matters after that. Yi Zhong laughed. He was still secure knowing Xiao Yang's strength. However, the only thing he was worried about was that the younger generation dispatched by the 4 great clans would be even stronger than usual. After all, the pill gathering was approaching. The members of the younger generation who would come were definitely not ordinary. Yi Zhong turned his body after uttering his words. He flew to the exit of the crimson open ground. Xiao Yang, the little fairy doctor, and the others followed close behind. Yi Manor, this is a property of my Yi clan. However, with the decline of the Yi clan, there is no longer anyone cleaning this place. Still, it is not a bad location to temporarily rest. Yi Zhong turned his head and spoke to Xiao Yang's group after looking over the courtyard. Xiao Yang's group naturally did not have any requirements about where they stay. Moreover, this Yi Manor might appear a little old and damaged, but it was superior in terms of being quiet. Although there was still quite a great amount of traffic around, it was quite remote when compared to other places. Cuckoo, it is fine if there is no problem. It is already getting late. Everyone should rest first. There are still important matters to do tomorrow. Along with the flow of time, night slowly began to scatter down from the sky, wrapping the entire Holy Pill city within a blurry night. Xiao Yang stood with his hands behind his back in a small yard within the Yi Manor. He raised his head and looked to the bright stars. It was a long while later before he slightly frowned. I have not sensed even a little ripple related to the 3,000 burning flame ever since I entered the Holy Pill City. It is likely being sealed or hidden by the experts from the Pill Tower, Xiao Yang mused for a moment before turning his gaze to the obscure starry sky of the inner region in Holy Pill City. The 3,000 burning flame was formed within the stars. It would remain in the distant sky when it was created. If Xiao Yang had guessed correctly, the 3,000 burning flame should be in the starry sky of the Holy Pill City inner region. The skills of the Pill Tower are really secretive. Looks like I can only take the proper route. Xiao Yang softly sighed in his heart. He was just about to turn around and return to his room when his ears moved. He turned his head and looked at the door to the yard. The little fairy doctor was quietly standing there in a white-colored dress. The moonlight from the sky diffused down and landed on her body. She appeared just like Silver Yarn with an additional alluring enchantment. Have you not gone to rest? Xiao Yang was startled when he saw the little fairy doctor. He then smiled and asked, Zana instructed me to protect you properly before she left. How can I stop working before you rest? The little fairy doctor replied with a sweet grin. Xiao Yang could not resist laughing upon hearing the little fairy doctor's saucy words. She had undoubtedly become a lot more cheerful after having resolved the issue of the woeful poison body. There should not be any problem with your woeful poison body, is there? Xiao Yang studied the little fairy doctor, who was slowly stepping through the moonlight, before he asked in a concerned manner, It should be fine. Currently there is a thumb-sized poison dan within my body. All of the woeful poison chi within my body is suppressed within it. The current me is able to completely control it. The little fairy doctor thought for a moment before replying, That's good. I can only help you until this point. You can only rely on yourself in what you wish to do in the future. However, the woeful poison body is not an ordinary constitution. Moreover, there has never been anyone who could completely control the woeful poison body in the past. Hence, I do not know how refining a poison dan will impact you in the future. Xiao Yang nodded as he responded. The little fairy doctor slightly smiled. She turned her eyes and suddenly asked, Have you told Zana about the matter regarding Cai Lin? Xiao Yang was stunned upon hearing this. He immediately felt a little embarrassed as he shook his head with a bitter smile. The matter regarding Cai Lin was merely an encounter that was filled with lust. After that incident, Xiao Yang had gradually gained a greater understanding of this woman through their encounter. He had to admit that he had begun to feel a complicated feeling for this cold but alluring Queen Medusa. This was especially the case regarding Cai Lin, suspected of being pregnant. It had been a number of years since Xiao Yang had left the Jioma Empire. If Cai Lin was really pregnant, based on the rules of the Snake People race's pregnancy, currently, it was likely that the little Xiao Yang had already been born. Xiao Yang's heart once again felt an extremely complicated feeling upon thinking about this. He appeared happy but distressed. Various emotions gathered together, appearing as though the bottles of 5 tastes had broken. One would be unable to differentiate the sourness, sweetness, bitterness, spiciness. When the boat gets to the bridge, there will be a way. When I see Zana next, I'll tell her those things. Xiao Yang shook his head. He calmed his own emotions and sighed. There are some things that I will naturally not be able to continue hiding. It is not rare for a man to have multiple wives and concubines on the Dochi continent. I think that Zana will not mind, the little fairy doctor comforted upon seeing Xiao Yang's worry. Xiao Yang could only bitterly smile and nod in the face of the little fairy doctor's comfort. Zana was not an ordinary girl. She definitely possessed a position within the Jiyu clan that other people had difficulty imagining. Otherwise, 2 elite Dozuns would not be protecting her all the time. Even if Zana were to agree when the time came, it was likely that the Jiyu clan would use this as an excuse to hinder them. The little fairy doctor changed the conversation topic after seeing that Xiao Yang had no intention of speaking more about this matter. The 2 of them sat down on the stone stairs in front of a room, raised their heads, and studied the endless starry sky. It has been many years since we have watched the night sky together. However, the night sky in that little valley near Qingshan town is still more beautiful. Xiao Yang's spiritual strength spread out from between his eyebrows like floodwaters the moment he shut his eyes. His majestic spiritual strength unfurled. After which, it reached into the bright starry sky. The spiritual strength unrolled in the sky like a wave of water. That unusual feeling of being filled with spirituality had accompanied his spreading spiritual strength. It quietly inscribed a vague imprint on Xiao Yang's widespread spiritual strength like a mysterious, searing seal. Xiao Yan, who had his eyes shut, did not discover that his completely still body had begun to emit a weak fluorescent glow at this moment. This kind of fluorescent glow was extremely mysterious. One's naked eye was unable to see it. Instead, one must use one's spiritual strength in order to sense it. The somewhat withered yellow grass around Xiao Yang's body began to lose its withered yellow color under the shine of this weak fluorescent glow. Buds quietly appeared, causing it to appear full of spirituality. At this moment, Xiao Yan was naturally unable to know about the changes around his body. With his spiritual strength spreading further, that blurry imprint grew. Xiao Yang's soul appeared to be a bath under warm sunlight in the face of the deepening searing imprint, causing him to feel an unusually potent feeling of comfort. The spreading of his spiritual strength continued for an unknown length of time. Suddenly it barged into an unknown place and abruptly shook. By the time Xiao Yan recovered, he discovered that his soul's sight could see an endlessly large dragon curled up on the ground. Both of its huge dragon's eyes were tightly shut. A kind of strange, purple-black flame lingered over its body. Xiao Yang's heart suddenly felt a familiar feeling when his spiritual strength saw the purple-black colored flame. A soft gasp immediately sounded within his soul. 3,000 burning flame, who dares to peep into the star region of the Pill City? A stern cry suddenly sounded from deep within Xiao Yang's soul while he had gasped. This sudden, stern cry caused Xiao Yang's spreading spiritual strength to blast apart. Immediately, it quickly disappeared from this overcast star space. A kind of faint spirituality was vaguely left behind following the scattering of Xiao Yang's soul. It is actually a soul state spirit. A vague, mysterious voice sounded within empty space after appearing to have sensed the remnant spirituality of the soul. Xiao Yang, who had his eyes tightly shut in the distant manner within the outer region of the Holy Pill City, suddenly opened them. His legs took 2 unsteady steps back. His expression was a little pale as he turned to the deepest regions of Holy Pill City. The place he had sensed the 3,000 burning flame earlier was definitely in that direction, Pill City Star region. That place is where the 3,000 burning flame was sealed. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.